So, we're going to have some initial reports. They just started to get formed from these two committees, one on research, legal research. Galen, do you want to come up here, please? Well, it's who stepped up to man the lawyer group, lawyer legal research group? No one's here for the legal research group? Well, then we'll have to
Okay, I stepped up last week because I had spoken to two lawyers' office on a class action lawsuit. However, an email went about and there was a committee and a group formed and I wasn't notified, so I backed out. But the lawyers that I'm referring you to, there was one, but she's in cahoots with Eileen, so she's off the charts for us. But Ted Hong is the one, if you want somebody that's going to go to battle for you and win, he's the one that I recommend. And then I can't do any more.
Well, who was the class act against?
Well, about the way that the county has stepped in and the way that they've handled it. I wanted to ask a question. How many in here went to FEMA? We all should raise our hands. How many in here were denied by FEMA? How many in here actually got money from FEMA? I'm so tired of being everybody FEMA, and FEMA's not helping us. The county's making plans to take away our subdivision. They're slowly but surely doing it. And if you don't wake up and realize that, I can walk away and I'm fine. But for those of you that that's your home and that's where you're going to live, my health, I can't deal with this, so I have to move on. But they're going to come in. Our community center in Leilani is going to be the next viewing center for the LABA. But the Leilani Association, and Jay's not here tonight, he gave us some, in fact, some false truths the last meeting. I'm trying to think a nice way to say that. I always say NQR, not quite right. But anyway, we, the people in Leilani Section 2, how many of us are in here with that?
Pardon?
We're trying to get a meeting.
What's section 2?
What section?
Zone 2.
Galen,
I want to hear what you have to say. Okay, I have spoken to a couple of board members of that's Leilani subdivision, the ones that we paid for the streets, not the first part, but the second part. But basically what affects us in section 2 affects section 1. And all we need is 2 board members to call a meeting. And I've asked that, and I've got a couple of board members that are calling a meeting. They're just trying to square away the dates to hold it, hopefully at the VFW Center down in Nanavale. And that will be going out shortly. But as far as the legal, you need to get somebody on board with you right now because the county has plans. And they're just slowly moving us all along, getting us all to buy other property, buy in, get help from FEMA, and move on. And, you know, I can't help you anymore. I've got to pull myself out because of health reasons. But you need to get legal advice for everybody, and everybody needs to stand together and everybody be on the same page.
Who is your source that the county has these plans?
Well, you heard him talk about it right up here, that they've got all sorts of plans.
No, they got ideas.
They have no plans, they have ideas.
Okay, how have their ideas or their plans been working for you?
Well, they haven't got the plans.
Let's do a Dr. Phil. How's that working for you? It's not, is it?
Not yet.
Well, nobody's died.
Well, no, because we're all pretty smart people.
Well, because they worked really hard.
Okay,
with
you
this
asked
lava.
who's been doing tours in there and
You know,
who's doing.
wait a minute.
They're
I
not
don't
telling you
wanna-
the truth.
We don't have to be. We don't have to have an enemy. We have to have real. I agree with you. Legal advice is extremely important, and action. But it's a big gun at the back. First of all, what are we doing here? They're as confused as we are. I think we have to give them that. And that I think that starting a lawsuit prematurely can actually slow things down when all of us what we really want is to go forward as rapidly as possible to have an established life again, whatever it is.
May I inject one thought?
Of course.
I asked the question about homeowner involvement.
Yes.
What was the answer?
No.
That's
The
right.
answer-
And we have to be there.
Yes, she did not say, yes, Michael, we'll involve you.
Yes, you did.
She,
Yes,
no.
you did.
She said, that's a good idea.
Thank you.
Well, then, it's up on the table now.
No, it's not on the table unless we push it.
I agree.
Agreed.
I agree we have to push it. I agree with you.
If the county's allowed to do what it's going to do, it'll be 5-10 years before anything gets
One at a time, please.
Well, that's we.
Excuse me, one at a time.
So I bring up the question of when Royal Gardens was taken, was their land swap given there?
No.
The county has no obligation to give us a land swap, nor to take care of us. They have no, so a lot of this stepping up to help us, I mean, we also have to help ourselves by doing these organizations, working together, talking about buying land together as a hui. But the county does not have to do what they are doing for us.
Correct.
So,
That's it.
You're right.
Who won? Who is it? Come over here, come on.
Patty Daly. I live in the upper Leilani, Haku Street. And I'm hearing that this lava could maybe stop within weeks or a month. And so far I'm uphill. A lot of people aren't, and I'm really sad about that. But we are in different categories. I've heard that there are 3 categories so far. Me personally speaking, I don't want to have to start over. And I'm looking at this kind of the metaphor that I see as a shelter. There's 60 people, or a number of people in that shelter that are keeping a lot of things from progressing in a bigger sense. Baseball games aren't able to happen, etc. We've lost a national park, and the county is actively looking for alternatives to tourism. And they say that Leilani Estates' value is 0. That's not true. It's worth millions and millions of dollars. And who's going to get these contracts? Who? And are we going to get the minimal on the way out? We're basically, I'm seeing there's an interest that's actually being pursued. I mean, it's on the table. It was mentioned, condemning it's all on the table. So really, when I think about it, who are we to the county and this economy and this huge budget deficit that the mayor has to somehow overcome? Well, Leilani Estates, and my lot right now, it's worth a lot. It's like national park land. I mean, this is the new cash cow. So people have to, or here, like the letter that I received in the mail, it talks about how I live in an uninhabitable structure, incorrect. It talks about the Pelly's here. Well, fine, but I can go hang out in Black Sands or in Seaview, and there's more of it. The SO2, all these threats that are being defined, making it such a scary place for everybody to have to evacuate out of, are just basically making people want to exit and make our lands undesirable. It's just not.
Simply, what do you want?
Yeah.
I want to get a clear answer.
Okay.
What do you want? Very simple.
I want things to be based on fact. Really, I want everybody who has the same conditions as Leilani Estates or worse to get that same letter. Try it. Seriously, involuntary evacuation for, say Nana Valley, who's downhill of this. It could rupture over any time. Really, it's like we're uphill.
Thank you.
FEMA is only probably another 30 days.
That's
They
not
keep
true.
saying, they're gonna stay longer?
Yeah.
That's not true. The FEMA is here
Yeah.
till the duration of this. They might be closing their place to a smaller place, but they are here.
Okay. All right. I would like to, I hear a lot of different opinions, and I feel like we need to make progress on specific issues. So, and help me here. Like what I'm seeing is the issue about, well, first, I guess the main issue I see is how are we going to organize ourselves? So, in fact, should we really cede over to the Leilani Community Association and be part of them, or do we want to continue meeting on this ad hoc basis? I think it's one question we need to look at. And there's a lot of different opinions here, regarding how people want to move forward. So the woman who spoke, who gave a sort of eloquent, inspiring, example, that is one way of moving forward. And I assume there are other ways of moving forward. But I personally would feel clear if we got those ways out, and were able to communicate them to everybody. And another way in terms of what's going on is, I think the issues with the Red Cross and FEMA are serious and important, and we're going to need to have some patience in getting them resolved and to see if there's progress. So I really urge everybody here to sort of hang together and hang tight on this, that we really need patience, and I believe we need what I forgot her name said, that to engender conversation. And if we make them the enemy, we're not going anywhere. That's my own personal opinion. And the other opinion I have is I don't want to be doing this by myself. And I really would like to be working with a group of people who want to create a small group to help chair this. So this is not just my show, this is our show. So what I really would like, if a number of you, 3, 4 people, 5 people, I don't care, would like to meet together after this just to help to set the next agenda. All right, do I have a buy-in about that? Okay. Okay. Yes.
A simple question.
Go ahead.
What is the way that you are communicating this particular meeting? Because the people on Capono, the only way we found out was one person found out and told us.
Okay. So I've communicated all this information on 2 platforms, Nextdoor and the Facebook group for Leilani Community Association.
Okay, Nextdoor, I have a P.O. box, they don't take P.O. boxes. Facebook, my daughter is teaching me how to do Facebook.
Okay, all right, okay. So there must be a way of going beyond a P.O. box. You have a street address, don't you?
I do have a
So
street
put
address.
your street address in Nextdoor.
For some reason it said you don't qualify.
All right, so anyone who has problems with Nextdoor, give me their name and I will try to get those worked out.
Okay.
I just find Nextdoor the most, and there's a woman here.
Just 2 ways.
Right,
Just 2 ways.
right, but there's a woman here who emailed me about creating a web page.
That would be
Right, Anne, right. So of creating a web page that would tie together all this information.
That'd be very good.
Okay, and we now have a contact list of everybody who's been here. Is someone here volunteer to help manage that contact list? Who has some spreadsheet skills? Michael, thank you very much. Okay. I personally think we do need some legal advice, and I do think, yes.
If I missed something here, I mean, a bunch of us here are from Leilani too, right? Yeah. We already have an association there. There's no representation here. We've already been paying assessment fees for years and years and years. There are bylaws there. There are conveyances that we have to live by there. We're talking about forming another organization. We already have one in place. Why don't we try to figure out what to do with those people.
This person should be
About
talking.
that. My husband is the president of Leilani Association, and
Right.
they are in their meeting at this time. This is the second Tuesday of the month, and their normal meeting time is 6:30 on the second Tuesday of every month, and has been. Second Thursday, excuse me, second Thursday of the month.
Where are
Wait,
they
where is
meeting?
it though?
Kurt Kaminsky's house. Does
Right
that
today, they're
matter?
meeting at Kurt Kaminsky's house, but that's.
It doesn't matter.
I don't know how to get to it. If I knew
Come take one.
Anybody can attend the board meeting.
No.
One at a time. So it really seems like the next main issue for all of us will be at the next meeting will be that question. How are we going to most easily organize ourselves and either as part of the, I don't care, the LCA or not. But it has to be a consensus of the group.
Right, and it should be because we're all homeowners. We've already paid that assessment fee based on the properties we own. There are hundreds of properties out there that are vacant, okay? And we've already got a system in place that we need to sort of take a look at to see if it'll work.
Okay, so that will be, we don't need to talk about that anymore. That will be the first order of business at our next meeting. And let me say, our next meeting cannot be a week from today because that's when the candidates forum is taking place at Haas. So I propose that our next meeting will be next Wednesday. Does that work overall?
Yeah.
All right, so I will find a venue. I will find a venue for us to meet next Wednesday because I think we should keep meeting weekly and so to get something going here. Momentum. Rod?
I would love to help out. I don't have internet service at the storage unit. I don't have cell phone at the storage unit. I don't have water at the storage unit. But I would love to help.
Okay.
I don't know how for anybody to get a hold of me or for me to get a hold of anybody.
All right. Thank you. All right. Yes. Please stand up.
Okay. Well, no, enclave over here from increment one.
Yeah.
I just want to say that we have a lot to contribute, and we would like to be involved in any organization. So we would like to suggest that we continue with some kind of ad hoc organization instead of.
Okay, so we'll work out that question of Section 1 and Section 2 at next Wednesday's meeting. Okay, thank you. Is there anybody here, since we talked about tourism and making money, is there anyone from the tourism committee who wants to say something?
Steve was here.
10 people from last week wanted to be involved in the tourism committee. Had a meeting yesterday. By consensus, it moved along very fast because there's just 2 people and advisors. So we reached consensus. We moved along. Mike Hale knows what's going on. He's got it down pat. Everything he said made sense. Where we disagreed, he had logic to turn my mind around. He's the go-to man. He's got a plan. He's talked to the mayor. The mayor said no way. We're putting together an opt-in list to be sent to the residents to try and get a group consensus to move this along. We'd like to have a sample of that opt-in list to take to the meeting on Monday, and going to meet with the mayor's aide an hour before the regular meeting to talk that along. And again, Mike Hale's the man. He's got the plan. It's really good. Thank you.
Thank you. And you are?
Rod.
Rod, can you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
As far as tourism, has anyone addressed the frequent early and late helicopter flights in this meeting?
No.
I came late because I originally thought it was at 7 o'clock.
No.
I have timed flights as early as 5:30 in the morning on the weekends, and and most days it's 6:30 on most days. And when I left my house at 7 o'clock, they were still flying overhead. And we've noticed up to 7 copters in the air at a time. and many of them flying below. I think the 3,000 foot is what I read in the paper is supposed to be the rule, and we've seen many copters flying below. Many that do fly up that high, admittedly, but there are many that are flying below the 3,000 foot.
County helicopters are the only ones that can go below 3,000. I'm just trying to tell you.
Is this a microphone?
Yeah.
I actually have, Jean Graham. I actually have a lot to say about helicopter tour traffic. I've done quite a lot of research on it in the past few weeks. There's two big providers, that's Blue Hawaiian and Paradise. Blue Hawaiian probably owns between 25 and 30 copters. Paradise owns 11. They're calling the new flow here in Leilani the hot seat tours because they can book flights as fast as they can get back to Hilo, get the plane loaded up, and get back over here. I figure each one of those companies is probably turning around 30 or so helicopters 10 times a day, maybe 11. They do fly from about 5:30 to 7:30, anywhere from 12 to 14 hours a day. The earliest flights are probably USGS, so those are the
3 copters at a time?
Probably not. Now, some of those are probably tour copters. Absolutely. One more thing. Blue Hawaiian pays absolutely zero in taxes for the privilege of flying over your homes every day, probably 200 times a day. They're exempted from the GET, which is the excise tax, because they're considered an interstate carrier, competing with fixed-wing interstate carriers like Aloha and Hawaiian Airlines, which is total BS, of course, because they're selling guided tours, not interstate commerce. This goes back to a 1983 Supreme Court ruling, which should be challenged. They are also exempt from state tax because they're owned by a private equity group called American Security, so they pay no state tax. They are paying zero for the use of your property. Same goes for Paradise, they may pay state tax. So basically, you're being used for 200 plus helicopter flights every day for zero money going to the District of Puna or to any help for residents. So I don't know what you can do about it except legislate it away. You could impose maybe a similar tax called an in lieu tax, like the accommodation tax, but it's going to take getting together with people like Eileen O'Hara and what's his name, the state senator. Yeah. It's going to take getting on those people's cases and starting to rail against the free use of Leilani properties for their helicopter tours, because right now we're powerless. We can't do anything.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. So that's in fact what I would like to see happen, is a small group of us go to Eileen's office, go to, Senator Aruman's office and Joy's office. Right. So that's what I would like to see happen here. Are there other issues that have not been raised so far tonight that you feel deserve a hearing here? Other issues you want to see raised that you have not yet heard about, that you're sitting on?
Well, the issue's been addressed. And I'm looking more towards the substance of the issue, and that is, well, what do residents get out of this, aside from maybe condemned or...
That's exactly what we're looking at.
I have an idea.
What?
How about the state and county lease our properties and give us a dividend on all the money that they make on tours?
That's an idea.
It's our property, right?
The air rights on it.
Like somebody owns Fisher number 8 because that's where their house was. It's their property. That is like a huge asset. It's worth millions.
If the helicopters were landing, that might be something, but there's something about mineral rights and air rights that I'm not sure property owners own air rights. As a result, that argument may not fly, so to speak.
My argument is that before we let go of our land so easily and be so scared,
it's worth checking
out.
out.
And has it's placed at a zero value when in fact it's really the biggest cash cow in America.
Yeah, thank you.
Next to the national park was.
I'm Patty, and I live on Alapai, so we don't have another choice of where to go as far as being able to afford a rental. So we're toughing it out, but I don't know for how long. But I didn't get a clear answer for the uninhabitable versus voluntary evacuation tonight. I know that they said to reapply, but was that the extent of it?
So correct me if I'm wrong, my sense of the situation was that letter was just for you. It was not meant for FEMA. It was not even meant for your insurance company. It was just an individual letter to you. And if you need a particular letter, like the gentleman whose wife cannot live in the house, he needs to get that letter from the county. He needs to call civil defense and get that letter created, right? And still, that's what I think they were saying, that letter went out blanket, it didn't go any other place, and you find out what you need, and then tell Talmadge, tell Eileen where to go to get that letter printed.
I have a question. Last week, our top issue was easy access into the mandatory evacuation area, and I don't think anything's changed.
Well, as one person who does access, and who my house is in the mandatory evacuation zone, in fact, it's one of the issues here I want to mention, there was that rumor that was being stopped. It's not true. There's a phone number. You just call up, tell them when you want to go in. I think it's 9, 11, or 3. And don't expect a call back unless they say you can't come in. But you have to tell them. You have to give them a heads up. And I printed that number a number of times on Nextdoor. I'll give it to you. I have it in my iPhone. But so I think we do have easy access. And the other thing this is on my own personal thing, is there a sentiment in this group? Yes, thank you. To actually, because they are volunteers. Dennis and his wife, Sharon, do this out of love of their heart. And I would really like for them to receive a gift from us, just to thank them. So I would, if you like to, we've already given them a gift, so I don't know, maybe people should just individually give them gifts. That's probably would be more meaningful. If you would just individually give them a gift, we gave her a half gallon of bourbon, but
She goes to BFW, maybe she'd like to have a
but I think they would really appreciate it because they're not getting any money for this. Okay.
Thank you. I just have a couple points. One is if you or anyone you know has not registered with FEMA yet, even if you don't want to utilize it or whatever, I highly encourage you to do it because it increases the numbers of people affected, which creates a demand, which makes them take the situation more seriously. And I believe on August 13th is when they're going to shut down where they're currently located, and I don't know what's going to happen after that. So I highly encourage you to do that. But also, if you've been denied by FEMA, please file an appeal. I know it takes time and effort, but if so many people, if they have to look at their data, and if they have so many appeals to the denials, that is a data point that is going to tell them they're not doing something right and they need to reassess. So file an appeal. There's an insurance forum, the second one. It's coming up on July 21st. I'm sorry that I don't know where it is, but if you look in social media, I'm sure you can find that. Reminder that the contact list for people that are insured by Lloyd's of London is on that clipboard, so I'm maintaining that. Please put in your information. Regarding those we left under mandatory, we got that letter that says voluntary. I don't think they fully got it again today, what the issue is for us. What I heard them say today is that the point of that letter was for insurance and for the Red Cross. I know over 10 families with children that have been denied by the Red Cross because of the voluntary word in that letter. So it's an oxymoron letter. It says your dwelling is uninhabitable because of A, B, and C, yet you're in the voluntary evacuation zone. It makes absolutely no sense. So it's not just for FEMA, it's the Red Cross. Insurance companies are asking for it. FEMA's asking for it. SBA, everyone's asking for it. So we can't just shred it. They know we all got it. So let's call civil defense. Say, you guys sent me this letter. I don't agree with it. It's adversely impacting my family. What can we do to change it? And if they want to come out and reassess, and if they want to come with a FEMA person, the challenge will be for them to look holistically at the whole situation, not just the structure and not just the weather on that day. But if we just roll over, nothing's going to happen. If we keep trying to get the point across, if we keep talking to our politicians during this political time when they're trying to get our votes, they need to listen to us and take action.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, again, please, if you're appealing, if you get results, put that out on Nextdoor. Just, we need data. You know, if you were rejected, you know, and you appeal, just give us the information. So put that information on Nextdoor. Okay?
One thing is that I heard, we hear different things. I heard Eileen say that they sent the letters out and the letters didn't work. Didn't anybody else hear her say that? So I'm not spending a whole lot of time on that. But I would like to volunteer to talk to Eileen about a representative on that council or whatever she talked about. If anybody else wants to do it, fine, but I've got her phone number and I'll call her and say, here's somebody, or would you like more people, so that our ideas, our thinking could be at that meeting. That was the point. We kind of went by that.
And more than one person.
Okay, I'm not going to be going step 2 and step 3. I'm just saying if I can even get her to agree to have somebody on there. That was the thing she was talking about.
Thank you. All right, it's now 7:40. Anybody else who's not spoken?
Welcome our group to Puna Baptist Church. You can have your meetings there anytime. The leadership has said that you can come in and we'll give you a place to meet.
Thank you. And can you hold about 75 people?
Oh, yeah.
And where is Puna Baptist Church?
You turn onto Highway 132 going towards Nanavali.
Oh, it's on the right-hand side?
Yeah, up on the hill,
Got
the white
it.
building. Yeah.
Can you speak to me afterwards so I can get your contact information? Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyone else?
I just have another quick question. Everybody talking about this letter. We never got no letter. Who sent out a letter?
Civil defense.
Civil defense? I do know about that. I've got an address.
Okay.
I didn't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You had to request the letter.
No, it was sent out.
I got one. I didn't.
Anyone else who hasn't made? I have a question. I would like to start a grief group. A group of people who just want to come together, who want to talk the story, who don't want to have advice given to them, who just want to be able to sit and be held by other people in terms of space and to share. I know for me that's been very healing, just be heard and hear other people's stories. And I would like to start that. And in fact, I would like to see if we can get that actually started at the Leilani Community Center. So, is anyone opposed to having that meeting actually at the Leilani Community Center? How do you feel about that? What? Right, I understand. Right, there'd be one way of somehow, I think, bringing life back to the community. I understand that. That's why I'm going to try to work with civil defense. But I just think it'd be nice to have a brief group meeting in Leilani as opposed to a Hawaiian Sanctuary or even at the Puna Baptist Church. It'd be a way of reclaiming our community symbolically. All right, and we could obviously have meetings there. If it's unsafe, then we'll get in our cars and we'll go out. You know, but I think that can be arranged. And in fact, there is an SOT meter right there at the antenna.
No, it's not there.
Oh, okay, but we will arrange, I'll get that arranged. So it seems like there's some interest in that. All right, I think we're about, anyone else have a final comment to make? I think we're about done.
What was this segment about? I was outside talking.
Well, we've just been, people have been raising different points, and everything's been recorded. This will be put on YouTube. You can revisit this meeting on YouTube, and we'll keep going forward. And again, with people who are interested in forming a small group, so that we can meet together to help plan the next meeting, I would really appreciate that. So for Michael and me, anybody else here, we're like, okay, thank you. And anyone, can I get two more people to be part of that? Or maybe we'll join later. Thank you very much.